Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. I'm here watching Night of Champions, giving my live thoughts and results as I upload these as I watch the show. First match of the night, the kickoff party was the Usos and the Goldust. I'm sorry, I fucked it all up. It's Usos going up against Goldust and Stardust for the Tag Team Championships. I'm watching the stream that was provided on the WWE Network. I have not been able to check out the pre-show, so I do not know anything that went down with Chris Jericho and Christian on the Peeps chat, so hopefully they'll give us some sort of an update during the show that goes along. But we have our first title change at the night. We have the Dust Brothers, as I like to call them, Goldust and Stardust, beating the Usos for the Tag Championships. In this match, we saw where basically Jay was going to come down with the splash off the top rope on a Stardust. Stardust was able to get his knees up, and then Stardust was able to roll up Jay with a schoolboy. Holding the trunks. Jay did a dive on the Stardust right before the finish, and Goldust did a flip dive off the apron onto Jimmy. That basically set up the ending and the pinfall. The Usos walked away very, very beat and defeated. Of course, they had the Tag Team Championships since about WrestleMania time. They were the champions at WrestleMania. They beat the New Age Outlaws. I guess that would be somewhere after Elimination Chamber, if I can remember right. So they had a good long little title run. This is their first time holding the gold. Honestly, in my opinion, the Usos had some good matches. I remember the Usos versus the Wyatts on one of the pay-per-views. I think that was one of the kickoff matches. Really got me in the mood to watch that show. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the second time they were on pay-per-view together. But we're going to have to see. I mean, Goldust and Stardust, I think most people are going to think that this is their first championship run, because I was just thinking that, but I forgot back to when Goldust and Cody Rhodes won the championships from the Shield at the horrible Battleground pay-per-view last year. I really thought that this was going to be a short-term deal for Cody Rhodes being there as Stardust. He is definitely on another planet right now. Definitely, I heard an interview with him on The Law with John Pollock, and basically he knows what he's doing. Cody Rhodes is one of my favorite guys out there. I think that sometimes they put him in some gimmicks that are jokes. But honestly, ever since he broke out of Legacy, anything that they've handed him, he's done, perfectly. When they had him wearing the mask, and when they had him basically being the dashing Cody Rhodes, I thought he did that, just picture perfect when he was the Intercontinental Champion. I think that he made the Intercontinental Championship relevant for the first time in a long time. That was back at WrestleMania 28. I thought that when he came back with the Rhodes brothers beating the Shield, I really thought that was going to elevate Cody Rhodes up. But now here he is tagging with his brother. I'm sure he likes it. I know that they've been hinting at trying to get a WrestleMania match to sort of, end Goldust's career and push Cody Rhodes further along, and having them, wrestle each other on the grandest stage of them all. But we'll see where this goes from here. Honestly, I think at Hell in a Cell we'll get a rematch of the Dust Brothers going up against the Usos, and not really much going on in the tag division right now. I mean, you got them, you got the Wyatts, and that's about it. Bray and the Wyatts weren't featured on this show at all, so who knows where they're going from here. But that's the first match of the night, our first championship turn, and here we go. Tag team division is in Goldust and Stardust hands from now on. I was really hoping for Miz versus Ziggler to be the match of the night tonight, but Sheamus versus Cesaro in the second spot for the United States Championship at Night of Champions 2014 was an awesome match. This was a very, very good. I often talk about 80s style wrestling. Two of the very favorite things that I used to like back in the day is just two big dudes just getting in the ring and just hitting the hell out of each other. Sheamus and Cesaro are two guys that just honestly really, really work really well together. They really, really gel well. I could watch these guys wrestle almost every day for the rest of my life, and I think that they would honestly always come up with something good. Sheamus by himself honestly doesn't get me all that often. Cesaro is a guy that I've been following that I really want to see, get higher up on the chain. Maybe the United States Championship was not the thing for him to do, but Sheamus continues on with this United States Championship that he won in a battle royal when the Authority was all pissed off at Ambrose and the Shield. So basically, they stacked against them where they lost the belt. But basically, We saw some really cool spots in this match where basically Cesaro hit Sheamus with a backdrop out of the neutralizer, where Cesaro landed on his feet and put Sheamus up in the torture rack and slammed him down to the ground. The end of the match was a little bit weird, but it was really, really good. Where basically, Sheamus got into the corner, stood up, and was just telling Cesaro that, hit me with everything you got. And Sheamus took a kick right to the face, and it looked like he was going to sell it where he went down, basically getting beat by his own finisher. But basically, out of the middle of nowhere, Sheamus took a step instead of falling down and just kicked Cesaro right in the face, and that was enough for the 1-2-3. A very, very awesome match. I thought this was really, really good. 2 thumbs up. I got to see my buddy Zach. He had a tweet that was mentioned on during the show. I thought that they took the Twitter portion off for the replays. Maybe that'll live in the live on forever. I don't know if when you get the DVDs, if they have the Twitter stuff on there or not anymore. But basically, pretty cool to see your friend have a tweet up on the television. Hopefully, you got a lot of Twitter followers out of that and everything like that. But Sheamus beats Cesaro, keeps his United States Championship, and I would hope that they're not going to do another rematch. They had a little interview section with Dolph Ziggler and R-Truth, where basically, Ziggler said he was going to beat up Miz, and once he worked his face over, he was never going to be able to work in this town again. They're in Nashville. Miz isn't a country music singer, so I don't know. It is what it is. I was really hoping that we weren't going to see R-Truth and Ambrose. And I can never remember that motherfucker's name. The dude that's with Miz. Damian Sandow, that's his name. Ever since he lost the Money in the Bank, it's hard for me to find a spot in my head for where he is. But basically, I was really hoping they weren't going to be there. Hopefully they don't affect the Intercontinental Championship match, because that was the match that I was really hoping for to win it all. I hope that match is coming up soon. I don't know when it comes up. But Sheamus beats Cesaro, United States Championship. The Dolph Ziggler versus Miz Intercontinental Championship match, honestly, in my mind, didn't live up to what I thought it was going to be. I really thought that they were going to go back and honestly restart something that, brought back the what that title meant to me as a kid. Just, real performers going out there and having real great matches. Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, honestly, to me, are really good matches. They could hold it up. Maybe they're not, Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, guys like that. But, just guys that can go out there and know how to work the crowd, work a good match. That's something that I was looking forward to. Honestly, I was fine with Florida Georgia Line coming down to the announce team. I honestly am a really big fan of those guys. I know that they take a lot of flack for being on Raw a lot. A lot of people don't like country music, but as a guy who likes country music, I put up with Pitbull and whoever else has shown up on Monday Night Raw and got to sing some songs. Who was that guy that showed up? The guy from WrestleMania 28. Flo Rida was on there just a little bit ago, and it is what it is. They said they were going to be a tribute to the troops. At least they didn't sing on tonight's show. It wasn't like Jeff Jarrett, Be My Baby Tonight out there on pay-per-view. But honestly, I was upset that R-Truth and Damian Mizdow was down there at the ringside. I think it took away from what the match was. Definitely, it could have been a lot better if it was just one-on-one straight up. But then again, this is they fought at the pay-per-view in the Battle Royal because they were the last two guys, and they had a match at SummerSlam, which was really good. They could have done it again, and I'm sure they'll have another chance. I mean, this is probably like the millionth time that Ziggler and Miz have wrestled on TV or pay-per-view, and not even counting, house shows along the road. So, it's not the last match we're going to see these guys, but this has been a very fun show so far. I'm really enjoying watching this, even though I'm watching it later. But basically, there was a whole bunch of spots where basically, they're using the figure four and all sorts of stuff. The finish was basically Ziggler, super kicking Mizdow out of the ring, and then from there, the actual Miz, rolled him up with a reverse cradle with a handful of tights to get the 1-2-3. Miz and Sandow were able to celebrate with the title. I don't know, ditch the lackeys and just get back to just having a one-on-one match. Definitely Ziggler and Miz will have a one-on-one match. at Hell in a Cell, not featuring the Hell in a Cell. And hopefully the other guys won't be out there. But I guess it'd be easy because then you could work a whole bunch of tag matches. And they've just sort of added these guys into there. So they're probably going to be out there. Maybe they can find some sort of a stipulation where all 4 guys are in there. Not a 4-way, but something with the IC title still on the line. But it is what it is. Just one match on the pay-per-view. It was even better watching the whole segment. Honestly, I thought the Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose segment at Night of Champions 2014 was just beyond awesome. It was really cool. Seth Rollins came out much like he did on the... Oh, shoot. What show was that? Is that the Battleground show where he was supposed to fight against Dean Ambrose? And they were saying because he was banned from the arena that the match wasn't going to happen. But Seth Rollins walked down to the stage, ran down the emergency surgery of Roman Reigns, basically saying that he was the one that put him in this state, and just basically saying that the emergency surgery was no excuse for missing the match and that he should be there. He said that he was going to give Roman Reigns to the count of 10 to get to the ring, or he was going to take his victory via forfeit. And he told referee Charles Robinson to start to count. They did the 1 through 10 count. Basically, the fans all were feeling the same thing that everybody else was feeling, and you get to hear a little "We Want Ambrose." Charles Robinson made it all the way to the 10 count. They rang the bell. They announced Seth Rollins the winner, and from there, Seth Rollins said that he wanted to work a match tonight. He wanted to show off his skills because he was Mr. Money in the Bank. And he offered an open challenge to anyone in the back, much like the Honky Tonk Man with the Ultimate Warrior. And basically, it could have been anybody coming out of the back. And just basically, they showed up on the big Titantron. That a taxi cab pulled them to the backstage area, and Dean Ambrose jumped out of the back, ran down to the ring, and he started whooping up on Seth Rollins, and there was a fight. They fought in and out and around the ring, and basically when Dean Ambrose was about to attack Seth Rollins with some chairs is when you got to see all of the agents and referees jumping into the ring, trying to make sure that Dean Ambrose wasn't really going to kill Seth Rollins in the middle of the ring. Once they were able to get it all broken up, they got up to the top of the ramp where basically Dean Ambrose jumped off of the WWE logo with a big monstrous elbow belly flop deal. And once they got it all figured out, it was Triple H and Stephanie who stood tall with Seth Rollins, even though he very vividly got his ass whooped on the pay-per-view, showed off that they were firmly behind him, and it just adds more questions to what happens a little bit later on in the show about where Seth Rollins stands with the Authority, where the Authority stands with Brock Lesnar. But this was very, very cool. This is one of those moments that we're going to be, really behind for a good amount of time. Thinking, wow, that was cool at Night of Champions when Ambrose came back. But good stuff. People were crying over this match. How? How were people so invested in Mark Henry versus Alexander Rusev that they were crying after this match? Basically, Mark Henry came out there with all of the red, white, and blue in his corner. Basically, Big Show gave him a big talking to before the match, and he was wearing some scarf that was presented to him, representing the red, white, and blue. He had some new all-out ring attire to go out there and sort of win one for the good guys, pretty much win one for US of A, kill Mother Russia, and drive her down into the ground. Lillian Garcia sang the national anthem before the match, and it brought Mark Henry to tears that he was out there, having this big match for the US of A. And the crowd really got into this, a little bit into it more than I thought they would be. I know this was the main event of Raw, and we were told that this is the match that honestly we should be caring about. But I don't know. I just sort of was looking at the past sort of things. Rusev fought Big E for 2 pay-per-views. He fought Swagger for 2 pay-per-views. He's probably going to fight Henry for 2 pay-per-views. So I wasn't really thinking that anything was really going to go down here that was going to be too much. I know that Swagger almost sort of got the win against Rusev, where basically he was on the outside. Rusev was able to get back in on the 10 count, and basically he was able to kick out of the ankle lock, and Swagger took the face bump into the outside ring post. In the one of the key spots in this match was also involving the outside ring post, where Rusev drove Mark Henry's back into it. Henry was able to get him back in there, and Henry hit the world's strongest slam. Rusev, after getting hit with it, rolled out of the ring. Rusev, tried to hit the accolade once, but Henry was able to power out of the move. Later, after a thrust kick, Rusev was able to put the move on Henry, and Henry was able to tap out. He rolled out of the ring. He was really selling the fact that he was really hurt, and you could really tell that Mark Henry was really feeling like he let down the US of A. I don't know if this means that Mark Henry's going to turn on the Big Show, if Mark Henry's going to come back for one more match and try to beat Rusev and try to show the US of A that he's a winner. They could go on an awesome storyline thing with Mark Henry just sort of in order to build himself confidence up, where he just turns against, I don't think turn against the US of A, but basically turns against everybody in the WWE Universe. Maybe sort of use some sort of a thing where he felt like everybody was against him after the match, that he had let them all down, so forget them, he's going to go off on his own. I know that they've sort of killed the thing with Kofi, Big E, and Xavier Woods, but this could be something where Xavier Woods gives him a pep talk on Monday Night Raw as well, and gets him back into the group, and then it gets that thing rolling again. So we'll have to see what's up with the faction, but Rusev beats Mark Henry, and he'll get another medal. Randy Orton beat Chris Jericho. This was a match that honestly came in with not a real big surprise factor to it. I think everybody knew that this was Chris Jericho's last match. He went as far to even announce this on his podcast, telling everybody this would be his last date. He's telling everybody that he had his last Raw, he had his last SmackDown. He's not going to be in WWE anymore. He said that he had a good run and that he will be back, and it will be sooner than later. But he was saying goodbye to go off and do his dream of becoming a rock star. So I think everybody saw Randy Orton beating Chris Jericho tonight. I don't think they were going to repeat the Rob Van Dam versus Randy Orton at Extreme Rules. I can't remember what year that was. Basically, because everybody knew that RVD was leaving, Randy Orton was going to get the win, and then little did you know, surprise, surprise, I believe it was a stretcher match. Rob Van Dam beat Randy Orton, and then Randy Orton gave him a punt to the head for a way of saying thank you for the great match. Orton versus Jericho was a very great match. These guys were on a different level above everybody else. I don't think that it's going to go down as being a better match than Cesaro versus Sheamus, but it honestly is a really, really good match. A match that got a lot of time. I don't know how long that match was, but I would have to guess that it was at least about 20 minutes. The longer the match went, the better it got, and you just hope that the end wasn't coming soon. We saw these guys both use their patented moves. Orton got the draping DDT, which I thought was going to be the end of it. I know that he normally will finish off his moves with the RKO before he gets to 1, 2, 3, but the way that Jericho sold it was like $1 million. Jericho was able to hit the code breaker, and then once he hit that, he went up to the top rope and spent what was like an eternity up there, and I was just yelling RKO, RKO, and Orton finally got up, and he was dazed, and he was looking at the opposite turnbuckle, and he finally turned around, and at that point I thought Chris Jericho was going to hit him with like a flying crossbody, roll him up for the pin, but it turns out Orton was playing possum. Jericho came off the top rope and landed right into an RKO. Orton was able to get the win. 1, 2, 3. And now it's sort of like Orton is moving into a little bit of a lame duck situation. I don't know where he's going. They could do 1,000 things with Seth Rollins. Basically, they did the assurance thing with Seth Rollins and the Authority, where basically they showed that he was, one of them. By standing strong with him after the Dean Ambrose brawl. But you got to wonder if Triple H sent out Seth Rollins to become champion at the end of the show, or if he was acting on his own, and he might have to face consequences for that, which might mean Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton to find out who the top dog of the Authority is. You could do that, but if not for that, I don't really know what you do with Randy Orton. So that's one of the things we got to sit back and wait for Monday Night Raw for. Where the hell was Brie at? This Paige versus AJ versus Nikki for the Divas Championship was a good match. They didn't really hold the crowd all that well. But honestly, I thought that they had a really good sort of plan of attack where basically there was always some sort of action going on in the three-way. We saw Nikki and Paige getting into a battle before the match started, and I like how AJ is the babyface, just sort of hung back into the ropes and just sort of, let the fight come to her before Paige and Nikki decided that that they were going to gang up on AJ, and as they ran at her, AJ kicked her right in the face. They wrestled around for a long time. Basically, the finish of the match is when there was one cool spot in there where Nikki had the torture rack spot on there, and Paige came up and she kicked AJ in the head, which made AJ fall out of the move. And then Nikki looked at her like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" So, Paige kicked her right in the head too. And I thought that was cool. But there was a spot in there where AJ was breaking something up in the ring, and Nikki Bella came over and just dropped AJ. And I'm looking like, are you kidding me that Nikki Bella just knocked somebody out in this day and era of the WWE? They're really making her look like she's a really big deal. And then AJ sort of got tied up in the ropes, and as AJ was getting tied up in the ropes, Nikki came in for the attack. AJ threw Nikki outside of the ring onto the floor, walked up to Paige, locked her into the Black Widow, and she was able to recapture the championship. From here, I know that Brie didn't get involved in this match, but I'm hoping that they're going to go with Brie versus Nikki and keep AJ versus Paige. We've seen this championship change for the third time of this set of feuds now. Maybe the fourth, I guess you can say, because AJ lost it to Paige, Paige lost it to AJ, and now AJ... no, a minute. I fucked up. Okay. Paige beat AJ. AJ beat Paige. Paige beat AJ. So this is the fourth. Yeah. We're on the fourth one. It is what it is. But hopefully that's what they do. Hopefully we don't see JJ get on Monday Night Raw. But hopefully the Bella thing, if they're not just going to say it's over and done with, I know that Brie Bella did the interview saying that she didn't want to see Nikki win the match. But at least she didn't get involved, so maybe the whole Bella's thing will be over and done with, and they can go on from there. But honestly, I thought this was a good match. This was good stuff. That was a great show. That was an awesome match. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena for the WWE Championship honestly really did deliver. I loved the way that John Cena showed up and sort of, answered on the last match from SummerSlam with him hitting the Attitude Adjustment just seconds into the match. It almost felt like it was a big UFC match where basically somebody was going to get knocked out seconds into the match. Much like we fell for it at SummerSlam, I honestly was jumping up and down, sitting here at my desk thinking that John Cena was going to beat Brock Lesnar in a matter of seconds. And I would have felt like I got all my money's worth watching this here on the WWE Network. I honestly thought that this was a great show. This was well worth the $9.99 that I'm going to pay for the whole month of the WWE Network, right, where I got to watch all of the WCW versus WWE Monday Night War documentary series. I watched all of the Night of Champions pay-per-views. I've watched a few Saturday Night's main events, and I've been exploring through the WCW library, watching Nitros and pay-per-views. This was an awesome show. Basically, with this match, we got to see John Cena hit 4 attitude adjustments, FUs if you might, on Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was throwing him around with the German suplexes a lot like the last match. This match, honestly, at points, Cena was in control, but honestly, at some points, like when he hit one attitude adjustment, which I believe was the second one of the night, he got like a half of a count. I mean, Brock Lesnar kicked out before there was even a 1 count, and John Cena put on the STFU at one point, and I saw Brock Lesnar muscle his way out of this move like it was just some normal headlock inside of a match. It never was the point where you thought that John Cena had it in the bag, except for the last FU of the night. And there was never really a point when you really felt like John Cena was knocked down. They made John Cena look really good in this match. The way that Seth Rollins came in at the end, I thought was really cool. The way that they hit him all the way until the second that he hit John Cena upside the head with the gold Money in the Bank briefcase, and then him hitting the curb stomp on Brock Lesnar, and then the whole thing about him trying to... It was almost like he didn't really plan on going out there to cash in. He just sort of went down there, and then he noticed Brock was laid out, so then he started thinking like, hey, why we're here, why don't we become WWE champion? Then, of course, Brock Lesnar came back, John Cena fought him off, and the horrible bad acting from John Cena, sitting there like in between the ropes, just looking back at Seth Rollins like, no, You ruined him. I had it beat. I had him beat. And the second I was watching that, I was like, man, it would be awesome if Lesnar got up and hit like another FU on Cena just to rub it in his face that he lost. And, that's exactly what they did. Almost like it was a Halloween scary movie. He grabbed him, picked him up, hit him with the F5, and it was over. It was done like Murder, She Wrote. John Cena got his hand raised. He got his music played. But at the end of the night, Brock Lesnar held the WWE Championship up. A lot of people were saying that WrestleMania was going to be, sort of booked tonight, and you could be able to pencil in who the champion was going to be at WrestleMania this year. So maybe we are looking forward to this long Brock Lesnar turn. A lot of answers are to come in the future. You could tell by Paul Heyman's face that he was not 100% happy with Seth Rollins cashing in, and he sort of, you can almost tell that he's betrayed. Brock Lesnar doesn't give you a whole bunch. Paul Heyman is where you have to get all of your things from. So that's the storyline that I'm looking forward to see what's going on with the champion Brock Lesnar. Maybe that's how they're going to describe why he's just going to pack up and leave. Triple H might want him to wrestle. I sort of thought that maybe they can sort of turn Triple H babyface out of this whole deal with Brock Lesnar taking off and not wanting to defend his championship. And maybe Triple H is the guy who has to go down there and threaten to beat him up if he doesn't come back and defend the title. Lots of things they can do. Not 100% sure what they'll do. But I thought Brock Lesnar versus John Cena at Night of Champions and the whole Night of Champions show was very good. Scratched my head at the Mark Henry versus Rusev match, but honestly, I think everything else I gave a thumbs up to. Thanks, WWE. You put on a great show tonight. Have fun, everybody.